This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
FM 89.9 KMOJ. Good afternoon, Walter Q. Bear Banks Jr. got you on the afternoon drive, taking you where you're going to. It might be where you just came from. Number one question, where you been? Where you been? Letting you know it's time to lock in with Little Moments Count, and letting you know that Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focusing on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of a young one's life. Nearly 80% of brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days of a small person's moment of interaction when we're talking about talking, playing, reading, singing, the list goes on. And if you'd like to know more about Little Moments Count, you can always lock in at littlemomentscount.org. And on this moment, we got Carrie Zelin Johnson. I'd like to say good early afternoon to you, and how are you doing?
Well, I appreciate the invite today.
No doubt, no doubt. And let me give you just a little bit of insight for those that may not know. Well, she's been working when it comes to spending nearly 30 years supporting children, families, educators, and organizations. And also when it comes to teaching coach, and then beyond that, parent educator, community program leader, mental health practitioner. I mean, the list goes on. And I want to definitely say hats off to you for those things that you've participated in thus far.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, for the listening audience, we're going to jump in just a little deeper when it comes to the side of trauma, because I know you deal with that area as well, and trauma responsive care. Can you give us some little insight about that space in that area and where you're at with that and what's going on?
Yeah, instead of giving you the textbook definition, I'll give you a radio-friendly definition when we talk about trauma responsive care. You know, our kids have big emotions, big behaviors. They're crying a lot, maybe having tantrums, and we often ask, what's wrong with you? Trauma-informed care is a shift from asking what's wrong with you to what happened to you or what's happening to you right now. So this is really about understanding that their behaviors are communicating something. And as adults, it's our job to respond to them, answer the call, provide the need, the want, whether they're hungry, overwhelmed, need a diaper change, just need to be held. And, it's talking about being present, being in the moment. And trauma responsive care also specifically takes into consideration that not all early experiences that young children have are necessarily positive. In fact, they may have been hurt or harmed, and now as caregivers, we have some healing work to do. So this is the time in these first 3 to 5 years of life, or 0 to 3 years of life. We get to be brain architects, and the way we build brains is to be responsive to their needs.
So when we're looking at caregivers, we're looking at parents, we're looking at those that help in that space in that area. What are some of the things that they need to look for when it comes to that space in that area? Because it goes a large, long way, but then at the same time, there's some things we need to narrow down as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes from, reflecting a little bit on how we were raised. What were the, common phrases we might have heard. I heard, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, right? Crying is a form of communication. They're trying to tell you, maybe their toe is bent in their shoe. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're tired of looking at the ceiling and they just want you to pick them up and give them a change of scenery. So it really is about anybody who's caring for kids, whether it's parents, foster parents, grandparents, our early childhood care and education professionals, to really pay attention to those needs and those wants of our young children, because in their minds, they don't know the difference between wants and needs. They just know that they are relying on an adult to meet those wants and needs.
So now, as a youngster or youth, as a little small toddler, and them not knowing, and we know that they absorb as sponges, what are some of the things that we need to let them see as parents or caregivers, just so that they know that they're on the right track? Because there's a lot of signs, but there's also some symptoms as well.
Yeah, a lot of times I hear from parents that and educators that kids are inconsolable. They're crying and you've tried everything. and it's just not working. And, the more you get to are in relationship with the child, the better you get to know them, and the better opportunities you have to try to problem solve and see what it is that they need. Some kids don't like to be held one way. They want to be held upright, or they want to be rocked. And so it's really getting to know each individual child, temperament, their personality, and really being willing as an adult to be flexible and agile, and be present and pay attention to those things, and getting rid of distractions and sometimes other people's opinions about what your gut is telling you about what your own child needs or what the kids in your care needs.
So now, when it comes to trauma responsive care, what are some of the things that when it comes to your series and that kind of thing that you have laid out, that when they participate in it, what they should look for, or what you would like for them to receive from it?
Yeah, so currently the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families is driving a statewide initiative to expand our knowledge and practices related to trauma responsive care during the first 3 years. And so there's some classes coming up specifically for those working with or raising infants and toddlers. And in my mind, again, that includes our early childhood educators, our family child care providers, our parents, our foster parents. These courses are grounded in trauma responsive care and relationship building. It offers participants a space to not only deepen their knowledge, but connect with peers and process their learning together. And in some ways also maybe unpack some of their own historical trauma or, adverse experiences that they've had that might prevent them from being a responsive caregiver.
And what brought you into this space when it comes to the educational side, and when it comes to that feeling from the inner side of being about what the business is when it comes to this space in this area? What was that thing that said to you, this is the space and area I need to be in?
I love that question. I was a young parent. I was a teen parent. I was eventually raising 5 kids. By the time I was 26, there's no training for this. Everything's on the job learning, right? In your mind that maybe you want to do things a little different than how your parents raised you. You know that you have to unlearn and relearn some things. And so I embarked on this journey early on as a young parent with young kids. And then my career just, followed. As they got older, I got into mental health. As they got older, I got into volunteering at their school. It's staying close to the work. But now I'm on a mission to make sure other parents and other educators feel supported and they know how to tap in. So with our classes coming up, you can contact Think Small about this next series. It actually starts June 27th. You can check the Eager to Learn website through Child Care Aware and register for online classes if you want. And if those longer classes aren't your thing, Family Wise is offering just a 2-hour class to kind of get you started. They also have their 9th annual no-cost conference called Growing Resilient Communities, and that's on June 23rd. And if classes and conferences aren't your thing, the Little Moments Count podcast and the Early Risers podcast can provide insights on how to be brain architects in the first few years of life, too.
Well, I want to say hats off and thank you very much for being a recipient for the Minnesota Association of Education of Young Children as well. So hats off and representing the state of Minnesota.
Thank you. That was a great award. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
And if by chance I missed a question or two, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess I would just close by saying parents and caregivers or any of the teachers listening out there, one small thing we can do today to create a safe and supportive relationship with the kids in our lives is thinking about how we're going to unplug, how we're going to reset, how we're going to draw near to our kids. When our computers aren't cooperating, we're told to troubleshoot them by rebooting, restarting, unplugging, and then reconnecting again. And I think as parents and caregivers and teachers, it may be time to literally unplug from our screens and technology, and maybe time for a reboot or a restart. Even if your kids are older, it's always the right time to be present with them, and regardless of their age, reconnect with them. Even if it's during drive time, find time, make time to talk, play, read, and sing.
No doubt, no doubt. I want to say thank you very much once again. And ladies and gentlemen, representing Little Moments Count, Carrie Zelin Johnson, thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
No doubt. It's FM 89.9 KMOJ. And if you'd like more information, you can always lock in to littlemoments.count.org. littlemomentscount.org, and then also you can lock in at littlemomentscount.org/podcast as well. It's FM 89.9 KMOJ.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.